We made it. This is the last video for social studies. This is our chapter 10 review. I put out a list on the board of just some things we're going to go over. The Mayflower, Pilgrims, Jamestown, Plymouth, Squanto, the first harvest celebration, the crew and the deck voyage, and that's from the Mayflower voyage, Mayflower Compact, and the Peace Treaty. Your test is 10 points. Simple. I looked at it and 10 points. We can do that, right? Go ahead and grab your books for the last time this year. Woo! I know you're celebrating. And I want you to turn to page 146 and 147. We're just going to quickly review a few little things, and then you can get on and take your test. Should be up and open Thursday, okay? All right, the Pilgrims in England. So remember, the men from England sailed to the New World, and they were in search of new riches, right? To find riches, okay? Other people wanted to go there to find who? Find a place, or not who, a place to worship who? God, okay? Sorry, mix those up. They went to find a place to worship God. The King of England said everyone must worship in the Church of England. But remember, the Pilgrims didn't agree with that. They wanted to worship God in their own church. They believed the Church of England was wrong. And in my eyes, I feel like they were too. Okay? The Pilgrims decided to go to America, right? And there they could worship God the way they wanted to and teach their children to love God and obey the Bible. And there you see the church there in England where they were not happy. Okay, go ahead and turn the page. We did a couple workbook pages and things on the Mayflower. Remember, they hired a crew of men to run the ship and the deck and on the Mayflower. The crew is men that work on the ship, and they sailed the Mayflower across the ocean. The deck is the floor of a ship, and remember, they lived on the middle deck of the ship. Okay. Okay. Next page. There's your picture of the Mayflower, the inside of what it might have looked like. The next page shows the voyage of the Mayflower. Remember, we talked about it wasn't easy. There were storms. They had a beam break, but they fixed it. Okay, go ahead and turn the page. And remember that when all the storms came through, it blew the Mayflower north, more near Plymouth, and they had to create new laws because their Virginia settlement laws would not work there. So the Pilgrims needed to make new laws, and that's what they called the Mayflower Compact, okay? They honored both God and the King of England. Remember that, because they wanted to honor both, okay? Go ahead and then you see their voyage on the map. I don't think you need to know anything about that on the test. Go ahead and flip your page. Then we talked about the Pilgrims in the New World. They landed at Plymouth. They thanked God. They left the ship to look for a place to settle. They found land that no one seemed to be using and decided that would be a good place for their Plymouth settlement. Remember, some of the women and the children had to stay on the ship, and some of them fell ill and died. The Pilgrims show God's love, and they came to care for them and other members of their crew. Then they moved to their land. Go ahead and turn the page. Then remember, they didn't have a lot of food. Many of them died as well. Remember, the woodland man came, Samoset, and they were surprised he spoke English. He promised to bring his chief and friend Squanto to meet them. And then they became friends, and they decided to make a peace treaty, remember? And they decided to live in peace. And they did that for many years. Turn the page. Squanto lived with the Pilgrims in Plymouth and taught them how to hunt and fish, how to plant corn, beans, and squash. And they became friends. And then we read about Squanto because Squanto was a real guy. And remember how he had lost his family? They kidnapped Squanto. The man taught Squanto about Jesus, and when he returned home, all of his family had died. But remember I said God used him though, because, Squanto was lonely, but they used Squanto to go back to the Pilgrims to help them, but then they became friends, and maybe Squanto wasn't so lonely anymore, okay? And then we just did this week, the first Thanksgiving. Remember, this was their first harvest celebration. And I meant to tell you that last week, and I forgot that the word harvest you see used around Thanksgiving. And I think that's just another word for harvesting your crops. After they've grown all summer, spring and summer, you go and you collect everything you've grown. You're harvesting them, and then you're celebrating by having a meal, okay? And then we compared, and you did a workbook page on the Thanksgiving now and the Thanksgiving we have today. That is it. We made it. Are you excited? I surely do miss all of you, and I hope that you have a really great summer. Maybe a little bit different of a summer this year, but I hope that you do something with your family to make some new memories. Good luck on your test, and I will see you next year. I might cry a little.